What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Going to do a little Steelers-Patriots pregame breakdown. Thursday night football, prime time, Acrisure Stadium. We got gold end zones, throwback jerseys, or should I say color rush jerseys. Really excited to watch this game. I'm sure that most people around the country are not very excited about this game, but it's always nice to play in prime time. Going to break down some matchups for you guys, give a little preview about what the Patriots are about. Short week, so my prep's been thrown off a little bit just because I've been also recovering from being sick. So, but just bear with me here. As always, we'll kind of go over some injury related stuff for the Steelers and the Patriots. For the Steelers, obviously, no Kenny Pickett. If you missed it yesterday, or last night, I should say, I dropped a film room on Mitchell Trubisky. We'll kind of talk a little bit about Mitch in further detail, but he's going to be the guy going forward for the next 3 to 4 weeks. It sounds like Pickett is going to be out until the Baltimore game, which is the season finale that could have playoff implications. We will see how the next month or so kind of unfolds. It sounds like Najee Harris is going to play. He didn't practice this week with a knee injury. That's definitely something to monitor in terms of seeing how the night progresses if he's able to make it through the entire game. I would guess that Mason Cole plays. He's questionable with the neck injury. He was limited in practice. Sayamalo, on the other hand, I'm not sure if he's going to play because he's questionable with the shoulder. He did not practice on Wednesday, short week. He didn't finish last week's game, so I'm thinking that Herbig is probably going to be in his spot at left guard. We will see here in a couple hours once we kind of get further clarification on those injuries. From the Patriots standpoint, this is a team that's been really banged up really all season long. They've lost several contributors, but this week has been really no different. Ramondre Stevenson, probably their best offensive player, really talented dual threat running back, is going to be out with an ankle injury. And then they're also going to be missing their rookie wide receiver who's kind of come on of late, DeMario or Pop Douglas. They've got several other guys that are questionable. Trent Brown, Christian Barmore, Juju Smith-Schuster. Obviously, we're familiar with him. But I think that all of those guys probably have a pretty good chance of playing, even though Trent Brown did come out of the game last week. So Devontae Parker, another wide receiver who's questionable for this one. But all of those guys were limited on Wednesday's practice. So it'll be interesting to see what the inactive list looks like. Just kind of starting off with the Steelers offense going up against the Pats defense. Like I said, Mitch Trubisky. It's going to be very interesting to see how he performs. This is a really good chance for him to kind of show what he can do. Obviously, it's kind of been nice because we saw Trubisky face this defense, which some similar or some different names, I should say, on both sides of the ball. But this is a game we have film on. The Pats are going to be familiar with him. So I'm interested to see what they can take away from that game. Mitch did not play particularly well, in my opinion, last year in this game. But, some things have changed. And the Steelers offense, it's not like they've been exactly rolling anyway. So just interesting to see, kind of how that unfolds just with the Patriots defense in general. This has been a very good team just in terms of playing defensive football. Haven't gotten much from the offensive side of the ball. We'll get to that. But over the last 3 weeks, I think they've held their last three opponents, I want to say, to less than 10 points. I mean, they held Justin Herbert in the Chargers last week. I want to say to 6 points, 2 field goals. That's it. They did a good job containing Herbert. Now, there were some other factors with the weather and some injuries on the Charger side that probably played an impact in that. But this defense is 7th in success rate. They are really, really difficult to run the ball against. They are the number 1 team in the NFL in rushing EPA and rushing success rate. You just look at their roster, just how they are built. The Patriots have a lot of really stout guys in the front seven that are really designed to stop the run. You look at in the middle, they've got Devon Godshaw, Lawrence Guy, Jaquan Bentley at linebacker. Bentley's a guy who's a really good stack and shed linebacker. I know that he hasn't had quite as good of a season as he had last year, but he's somebody that I have always really liked, just the way that he plays. And then just their defensive line. Christian Barmore's playing better than he probably has in quite a while. It seems like he's having a little bit of a breakthrough right now. There's also probably their most consistent down-to-down pass rusher. They have had some injuries, like I said, on defense. Matthew Judon, their best pass rusher coming into this season, ended up getting hurt. He's missed the entire year. And then Christian Gonzalez, really talented rookie out of Oregon, which we talked about a lot on the channel. He's out for the season as well. So Josh Uche is kind of a designated pass rusher for them. They will bring him in really only when, in passing situations, third downs, 2-minute drills, things like that. He's Really nice player around the edge, very, very bendy, can sequence moves together. So he'll be somebody that, the tackles are going to have to worry about if the Steelers do fall behind or if they get into, third and long situations. He's the number one threat in those situations. So just kind of moving forward to the secondary, the Pats play a ton of, they're a base 3-4 team by depth chart, but they play a lot of different fronts. They'll play some 5-man fronts. They love to play dime, so a lot of 6 DB looks. They have two really, really good safeties. Kyle Duggar is probably one of the best safeties in the league. Matches up well with tight ends. He had a fun matchup last year with Pat Freiermuth before he got injured in that game. But Duggar's a guy who really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. Extremely good athlete, can play the run, can cover tight ends in the slot. He can even play like the deep half. And then they've actually got some really, really good play out of Jabril Peppers, former first-round pick out of Michigan, a guy that, I feel like, other teams, Cleveland, the Giants kind of gave up on him, and he's kind of had a career resurgence. One thing that they will do is they will, on rundowns, they will play kind of like a big nickel where you get three safeties on the field, and they will usually roll Peppers down kind of as a pseudo linebacker or blitz him off the edge. And they've been really successful with those type of looks, especially when it comes to like limiting outside runs, things of that nature, because they already have, like I said, the stout defensive tackles to take care of the run. But they don't have that, like I said, go-to pass rusher. Barmore's a nice player. Uche is a designated pass rusher, but just on a down-to-down basis, they don't put a ton of kind of at the cornerback position. Jonathan Jones, guy that's been around for a while. He's a really solid player. Does some good things on the outside. Has had some nice games in the past. But one of the things with Jones is just he's small. So I talked about this a little bit with the Mitch film breakdown, but you can kind of get after him in some jump ball situations just because he doesn't have the physicality and the requisite size or length to go, toe for toe with some of those guys. So I think maybe some Pickens back shoulders, some fitty balls to try to push the ball down the field. And then across from him is Jonathan Jackson, or JC Jackson, excuse me. Former Patriot, then went to the Chargers, got hurt, came back to New England. JC Jackson is a gambler. You will see him take chances. He wants to turn the football over. So that's one thing about him. You have to be careful about where you're putting your eyes because he will take chances. Now, having said that, you can also exploit him for some big plays. And I think that's really been his Achilles heel over the past 2 seasons. His eyes can get him in trouble. Also, just with the injuries, it looks like he's kind of lost a step a little bit. I watched the Chargers game last week. They could have had a couple big plays going at him, but just didn't end up converting on some of those. But the corners are those matchups. Just like I said, with the Patriots stopping the run at an exceptional rate, the Steelers receivers are going to have to win some one-on-ones on the outside. Make no mistake about it. The Patriots are going to do every single thing that they can to limit Najee Harris and Jalen Warren's effectiveness on the ground. Going to be very, very adamant about forcing the Steelers into passing down situations. They will stack the box. They are actually the number one team in success rate when they stack the box. So that's also something to take note of. They are very one thing that I've always thought about Belichick is he's a very purposeful game planner. So whatever it's the old adage or the old cliche of like whatever you want to do most on offense, he's going to try to take that away and almost make you play left-handed. He also has shown like last year they did some one double stuff with Chase Claypool in the slot. So if one of the receivers starts heating up, don't be surprised if they run some like one double. They did some drop 8 stuff. They will mix coverages. They'll play some man. They'll play some zone. I don't necessarily trust their cornerbacks a ton in man coverage. Like I said, I think that the Steelers have the advantage there. But it's not that the Patriots secondary is just absolutely terrible. It's just more about I have faith in the Steelers receivers. It's really just going to come down to, can Mitch take care of the ball and be cautiously aggressive and smart when trying to push the ball down the field. So just kind of moving over to the other side of the ball, with the Steelers, they're going to be seeing Bailey Zappi. Mac Jones, that experiment seems like it has run its course. They've kind of ruined Jones, who had a nice rookie season, but has went continually downhill over the past 2 years. They turned to Bailey Zappi, second-year guy. One thing that I noticed, just like watching Zappi, the numbers last week were not good, but I did think over the course of the game, he got a little bit more confident. He pushes the ball down the field. They take a lot of go ball shots. Last year when they played the Steelers and Jones was in the game, they tried to go at the Steelers, a heavy man coverage team. They tried to exploit them with a lot of deep crossers, deep over routes. Remember, Jacoby Myers had some nice plays on those. So that could be something that you look for. Zappy's a guy, like I said, who I think is at his best when you can really push the ball down the field, because underneath, I feel like his accuracy is a little bit spotty and inconsistent. But one thing that I did kind of appreciate about Zappy's game, just after watching a little bit of Mac Jones over the course of the season and like live viewings, has been that I didn't feel like his eyes were dropping under pressure. With Jones back there, it just seems like I said, they've kind of ruined his development a little bit, to the point where, anytime he got a little bit of pressure, or even when there wasn't pressure, it felt like he was seeing pressure, running into pressure. With Zappy, I felt like he kept his cool a little bit, despite some pass pro issues up front with the Patriots offensive line. The Patriots offensive line, they can run the football a little bit. They do a decent job of staying ahead of the chains, but this offense has really been, quite honestly, like the Steelers, just in terms of maybe even worse, in terms of probably an average-ish rushing game, and just a dreadful passing game. There's a lot of similarities between these two teams. That's why no one is expecting a ton of fireworks tonight. On the offensive line, they've got the interior of it is filled with, David Andrews at the pivot, a veteran guy who's been around a long time, and then two young guys in Cole Strange and City So. The issues have been a little bit in the drop back passing game, just in terms of protecting the edges. Trent Brown had a really good game against Alex Highsmith last year. Brown is a humongous left tackle, been around for a little while now. Bigger dude, a lot of length. And he had a really good game against Highsmith, but he has been a little bit inconsistent. There's been obviously some injuries over the past, however many years with him as well. But they've actually had to move their right guard, Michael Onwenu, out to right tackle, which has created some issues for them. Onwenu is a really, really talented player, excellent run blocker. He also had a very good game last year against the Steelers. And he was somebody that I was, when we scouted him last year, I was really impressed with. But he's not all that great in space. You saw Khalil Mack last week have a big game against him. He's just naturally a guard who's playing at tackle. And that's just some of the things that you go through when your roster kind of needs help and you end up having to move good players out of position. Sometimes they just aren't able to keep up that level of play. I felt like last week things kind of went off the rails a little bit with him. He was a little bit late out of his snap. You saw Mac be able to string some moves together for some pressure. And look, if the Steelers are going to win this one, they're going to have to force turnovers. They need their front seven to dominate in this matchup. They need Keanu Benton, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt to generate consistent pressure on Zappy, to force some turnovers, because this New England Patriots defense has been playing some good ball. You want to try to give your offense some short fields. The one good thing that I will say too is, there hasn't been a ton of matchups this year where you feel like really confident about the Steelers, secondary or second level defenders match up with an opposing team's weapons, just because we've seen some issues on the back end, especially with Mika Fitzpatrick out for a decent amount of the season. But the Patriots just don't have the weaponry that a lot of NFL offenses do. Their best receivers, Kendrick Bourne out for the season. Right now, they're looking at Devontae Parker, guy who's been productive in the past. They like to throw a lot of go balls to him. They like to use him down the field, in the middle of the field, intermediate areas. Like Pop Douglas, Juju Smith-Schuster. It's kind of tough to watch Juju at this point, just because he can still be a useful player, but Juju's body's just like really broke down on him a little bit. I feel like over the past couple of seasons, you can just see that he doesn't have the same twitch that he had when he was first coming into the league. And I think a lot of that is just due to some of the nagging, like knee injuries and things like that, that have taken a toll on his body. And then Tyquan Thornton, they took this kid really early in the draft a couple years ago, and Thornton's been in and out of the lineup, has struggled to stay healthy. But this dude has legitimate like high 4.2 speed. They took a deep shot to him last week. He wasn't able to corral it, but it would not surprise me to see Bill O'Brien dial up another deep shot to him, just to see if they can get a cheap, explosive play out of it, especially because the Steelers on the back end, you think about some of their cornerbacks, Levi Wallace, Patrick Peterson. Those guys, aren't the fleetest of foot. So it wouldn't surprise me if they try to take a deep shot early just to see if they could get some cheap points. So Hunter Henry, they Seki, but he hasn't really been very active. They've actually been playing Farrell Brown when they go to a lot of their 12 personnel sets. That is something that they will do. Bill O'Brien, he likes empty. He gives the quarterbacks a ton of freedom at the line of scrimmage to change the play. It is I don't want to say the most complex offense that I've ever like kind of studied, but it's definitely up there. So that's another challenge when you talk about going to a backup quarterback in the middle of a short week. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles the crowd noise and a road game. Really good defense, against the Steelers. So this one will be interesting. I think the over/under set at 30 points. The Steelers are 5.5-point favorites. Like I said on the Steelers Now pregame show, I am not going to make an outlandish prediction about the Steelers playing very well because I did that last week and it backfired. Um, excuse me. But I do think the Steelers win this game. I find it hard to believe. That they're going to lose to two win teams back to back. That was a tongue twister. But this one, another home game, they absolutely have to have this one. If you don't get this one, um, there's going to be some serious doubt about this team's ability to make the postseason. Last week's loss was what it was, but it doesn't absolutely kill you because it is an NFC opponent. This being an AFC opponent, you have to get this one. You can't come out of this 2-game stretch without a win, especially against two teams that are really banged up. And this team with the Pats right now, that's just not overly talented, man. I mean, they're in the running for the top pick for a reason. And I know Belichick has had some success against Tomlin teams in the past, but the past is the past. I think everyone can acknowledge that era of Steelers football and that era of the Patriots football is long gone. I mean, these are two completely different teams that seem to be, hopefully heading in different directions because I think the Pats are going way, way downhill. But we'll have to see what happens, man. It should be an interesting game in a kind of like this is really ugly and you can't turn your head away type of way. But just again, I appreciate you guys' support. Appreciate y'all watching the preview. Leave me a comment on what you guys think will happen in the game. Just some scheduling notes. If you haven't checked film room, go do that. But also, I will have my post game kind of recap thoughts Friday morning, probably around maybe after I have to work tonight. So it won't be as clean as me just watching the game, doing my post game article, and then jumping on here. So it'll be like Friday morning, but I'll have something up Friday morning and then hopefully get a film room up on the channel for you guys based on something that happens sometime maybe later this weekend or Monday morning at the latest. So, but I appreciate you guys tapping in with me. Again, like the video, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. And I will check you guys next time. Have a good night and enjoy the game.